How's it going, fam? Welcome back to Erica's EDC, and today we are going to do a full review on the Steve Callari Custom Knives Steadfast EDC, the 3-inch version. This is in 4V blade steel at 66.5 HRC. I did a month of consecutive testing with this. I've sharpened it, I've worked with it. So we're going to do a review on this today. This is also a review of 4V because I have only used 4V one other time in this knife, the Scrawny Lumberjack Vulture, and this is at 64 HRC, I believe, so I have noticed some differences between these two, even though they're the same steel. I also want to bring Magna Cut into the discussion here because I have a number of knives here in Magna Cut that I have used, along with some others, and I actually experienced 4V in reverse to most people because I actually experienced Magna Cut before I experienced 4V, and typically that went the opposite way for a lot of people because it was 4V first and then Magna Cut was kind of like the stainless version of 4V. So we're going to talk about all of this today. It all kind of ties together, but I wanted to bring my full-size Steadfast into the conversation as well because this is the first knife that I ever got from Steve. This is in Magna Cut at 64.5 HRC, something like that. So I can also compare the new one to this because this actually was one of the first Steadfast knives that Steve ever made, and it is very different to the new ones that he's making. He has really slimmed out the handles on the newer ones. They're just completely different. They really thin out in this area and then they kind of flare again, but just the whole ergonomic design has been really changed. So just a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about here, but let's talk about Magna Cut first, because in the timeline of things, that's what I experienced first, and I had only heard things about 4V, and then I experienced 4V. So let's start with this BGM Knives Mini Spade in Magna Cut. This probably does not look familiar because I had it rehandled by Josh Francis at Knife Guy Mods. This was the very famous one with the blue handles. I have a video that has, I don't even know how many views at this point, over 10,000, I think. I have a video where this wasn't doing so hot, and it was one of the first videos of like a Magna Cut knife in general, and then I played around with the edge. I took the convex edge off, and now after multiple sharpenings, the convex being gone, this is one of the best knives that I have in my collection in terms of high performance. It's very thin behind the edge. It is Magna Cut at 62.5 HRC, and it is simply one of the best knives I've ever used. Now, like I said, I really had to get rid of that convex edge that it came with, do a number of sharpenings, but this finally started to give me some hope for Magna Cut, okay? So after I tested that one, then I got the Steadfast from Steve in Magna Cut. Now this is higher hardness. I'm just going to move some of these out of the way so we can talk here. This one is higher hardness. This one, like I said, is, you know, around 64.5 HRC, something like that. I tested this for a month. I have a video batoning with it. This one is also very thin behind the edge. I think it's, I want to say it's like 15 thou. But I batoned with this, I tested it for a whole month, I sharpened it, and this really was like getting me on the Magna Cut train. This knife is incredible, extremely easy to sharpen. I think I want to say I have a video sharpening this actually. It literally takes a matter of minutes to sharpen this from completely dull to razor sharp. Great toughness, just all around, a fantastic knife. Very corrosion resistant. So I was really, you know, warming up to Magna Cut being one of my favorite steels because it's, you know, there isn't any steel that just completely does everything perfectly, but if Magna Cut MAGNACUT's dang near close to that. It is highly corrosion resistant. It has great edge retention, great toughness, great edge stability. It really just kind of checks all of the boxes. It's a very, very good steel. And I did also test it in this little guy. This is, the now extinct Survive Knives, EDC 2.7, something like that. This is 62 HRC Magna Cut, done by Peters. Another great little knife, but plenty of Magna Cut use, okay? So I've had a lot of experience with it, beating the crap out of it, sharpening it, all that good stuff. Really got an idea of how Magna Cut works. It's still one of my favorite steels to this day after all the testing I've done with it. And then I did this collaboration knife with Kyle from the Scrawny Lumberjack, and this was my first experience with 4V. Now, there's been, a lot of talk about what Magna Cut is, what it's supposed to be, all of that. It is supposed to be kind of a stainless version of 4V or Crewware, because Crewware is like semi-stainless. 4V is just not stainless. So Magna Cut was supposed to be Magna Cut was marketed to have the corrosion resistance or the stain resistance of 20 CV and S45 VN, but the toughness and edge retention of 4V, okay? Now, a lot of people don't know this somehow, but Crucible, the CPM, makes stainless and non-stainless steels. For some reason, a number of people have been in my comments being like, Crucible only makes powder metallurgy stainless steels. They don't. Crucible makes stainless and non-stainless, and 4V is one of their non-stainless steels. It's CPM 4V. 4V is actually really cool. Very good toughness, very good edge retention, takes a really gnarly toothy edge, and I don't think it's as tough as 3V, but it's pretty dang tough, and it actually doesn't take staining very fast. Like, you can absolutely give this rust and pitting and teeners, but it's not like a hassle of a steel, I guess I should say. And this Vulture was one of my first experiences with 4V. This did incredibly well. We did sharpen this on camera, and that video is on my sharpening playlist. We freehand sharpened it in a matter of minutes. Did a lot of testing with this, a lot of abuse. And this got me really hooked on 4V because I am a sucker for high hardness, toothy steels. I'm really, really a sucker for them. I like knives that I can just get super crazy toothy, that hold an edge, that are hassle-free for me, and that I can beat the crap out of and not really have to worry about it. So the Vulture really got me intrigued with 4V. Then we come to the Steadfast here. Now, I had no idea that this was coming to me. I had no idea that it was in 4V. I had no idea what it looked like. I had no clue about any of it. Steve just randomly one day was like, "What's your address?" I'm like, okay. So I gave it to him, and the Baconator showed up. I call this the Baconator because it looks like raw bacon for scales, and yes, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's fucking raw bacon. So this came in, and this is 4V, 66.5 HRC. We've got 12.5 degrees per side, 5 thou behind the edge. Very thin, slicey, high-performance knife. So, one of the first things I did with this was I actually took it to a buddy's house and did some game processing with it. Now, this is not the knife for that. I understand. This is an EDC knife. This is very much designed and meant for breaking down cardboard boxes, opening plastic packaging, cutting rope, cutting for a very long time, maybe cutting material like canvas or just materials like that for a long period of time. And it's supposed to cut and cut and cut for a long time through those types of materials without any hassle. This isn't meant to be a game processing knife. But what I wanted to do was test it in a real life circumstance, hitting bone, cutting on a hard plastic table, putting it in the hands of people that have no idea about knives, and that's what I did. So I did bring this with a number of knives to my buddy Trevor's house, and we really actually beat the crap out of this. I gave this to a number of people that have never even held a custom knife before. We scraped meat off of the bones with this. There's like a short of that actually, and I have some photos and another video about it, but we scraped a whole bunch of meat off of the bones with that knife. We processed through the ribs with this. This really went through the ringer. Came out unscathed, of course. I did record the edge after that testing. Again, these are all in separate videos. It's all documented. But came out unscathed. So toughness, check. And that was also a bit of a myth buster there, because there are so many rumors that go around saying that if you bring super steel up to a high hardness, thin geometry, it will fail because it's brittle. Wrong. We all know that. Only very specific marketing people are saying that at this point. So we debunked that. Then I tested it for the rest of the month and did some cardboard cutting and package opening, and I processed the dog food with it, and I used this for everything under the sun that you could think of. And then on camera, we also freehand sharpened it in literally a matter of minutes, okay? We recorded the edge beforehand, it had edge damage, we sharpened it on camera, recorded the edge after, it's all unedited. Absolutely insane results, by the way. So we myth busted that as well. There's a myth, a rumor that high hardness super steel is difficult to sharpen. Wrong again. Okay, it's all a marketing scheme. So we documented all that, and now after a month, we're here. So let's conclude my thoughts on 4V, because I think this was obviously a different experience than this. If you're not familiar, the Rockwell scale is not linear. So if this is 64 HRC on the Rockwell scale, and this is 66.5 HRC on the Rockwell scale, although logically speaking, that's a 2.5 point difference, it does not equate to a simple 2.5 point difference if you're looking at the dynamic of how the Rockwell scale works. Okay, that is actually a very large difference in that realm. Going from 64 to 66.5 kind of changes things. So right off the bat, I noticed that this blade had less forgiveness than this. Why? Because this is 64 HRC and it's also thicker behind the edge. Okay, and this is a bit of a convex grind. Not a full height, but it is convexed a little bit, whereas this is hollow, very, very thin. So somehow along the way during the testing, after the deer carcass, I'm figuring I hit a staple, and I did receive a little roll in there, which we recorded during that sharpening, okay? This, I did a whole bunch of stuff with it, really beat the crap out of it. It never really took any rolls or anything at all, okay? So, this rolled a hair. This one, nothing ever happened to it. It was nearly bomb-proof during the testing. Like I said, that is because of a number of things, including geometry and higher hardness in this. Also grind. I will say, this 4V does not dull fast, but it dulls faster than this. This knife, technically, during the sharpening, for an average person, probably didn't need to be sharpened. It was still plenty sharp. I wanted to sharpen it for testing purposes and also because it did have a bit of edge damage. But in the realm of normal people, nobody would have noticed that probably if they were just an average user. And this stayed sharp the entire month without needing to be sharpened with everyday use. I will say I did not notice a difference between these two 4V blades in terms of corrosion. This does have a finish on it, an acid wash, and it did not take any type of corrosion, pitting, staining at all during the entire month. I did process a number of raw dog food meals. My dogs eat a raw food diet, so lots of beef, chicken, organs, bones, all that stuff. We didn't get anything at all in terms of corrosion or staining. But basically, this configuration of 4V simply performed better in terms of edge retention, and then this one obviously had a little bit better toughness. That's really the only difference. 4V takes an insanely toothy edge very, very fast, and I did find that with a 600 grit DMT Diamond Stone, sharpening was a breeze, and it came up with a just crazy toothy, bitey edge that was very easy to create. All in all, 4V is absolutely one of my new favorite steels. I think it has everything that I'm obsessed with. It's high performance. It can be brought up to a high hardness. It holds an edge forever. If we're talking about literally 4V versus MAGNACUT, I think 4V holds an edge a little bit longer, just from my experience. And that, again, could be due to a number of attributes, but these two knives were made by the same exact maker, MagnaCut 4V, and I, from my notes, am finding that the 4V simply had better edge retention. Is it because of the steel? Who knows? Could be. Let's kind of conclude that 4V is one of my favorite steels. I can highly, highly recommend it. It is one of the best super steels. I find it holds an edge longer than MagnaCut and also longer than Crewwear. And this is very much up with the holy grail of my steel collection. This is very much sitting in a throne with K390. This is absolutely insane, and I can highly, highly recommend it. If you're a steel nerd, you need to try 4V. Now, let's talk about the model in general, because this is also a review of the Steadfast from Steve. So we'll talk about some of the improvements I guess I have found. The original Steadfast has a really thick, bulky handle. This is super comfortable and totally makes sense if this is a dedicated outdoors knife. It's pretty hefty, really thick scales, one of the most comfortable knives I've ever held in my life, and you can continue to work with this for extended periods of time. You do not experience fatigue. However, if you're looking to carry this knife as an EDC option, I definitely recommend getting one of his newer versions. This is very much lightened. It is also much thinner. Way thinner. So throughout here, a lot of material's been taken off. We do have that pinch grip area, which has been greatly improved in my opinion, because on the original it was a very small, abrupt stop, not entirely for pinch grip, whereas this definitely is a nice platform for your thumb, the pad of your thumb, and then your index finger going that way. This feels really good. You have more surface to grab onto. I don't find that taking that extra material off has decreased the ergonomics in any sense. It's still just as comfortable. I think because he left the knife as wide as it is in this direction, it still fills your palm very, very nicely. So it's not like you need all of that extra handle material like in this one, because he has brought over the width in that direction. So that's a huge plus. The overall design is still basically the same. You're still getting that choil right here. You still get that ramp in the back, the flare. You're still getting all of that in the new version. It's just simply lighter and thinner where need be. Fit and finish is incredibly good on Steve's knives. Now, obviously, these are fully handmade, hand done by him in like his outdoor garage in Georgia. He does everything by hand. He does the heat treat in-house. Everything is done by him and only him, including the edge, and he freehand sharpens the edges. Like, not on a system or anything. Literally, he does the edge freehand. In terms of fit and finish, very, very good. There are some really slight little things that you'll notice, like the bacon shrunk right here a little bit. So you can see that when you hold the knife like this, those toxic green liners and the black, you can see a little bit right there because this carnelian micarta was just ground down a little too much, so that those liners are a hair proud, I believe, on both sides. Yep. So if you hold the knife perfectly straight, those are the liners. Very minor gapping between the pin and the scales, but that is all filled in with epoxy, obviously, so you can't feel that. You can only see it. It's all filled in. But symmetry is perfect. Fit and finish is absolutely insane. It's literally just a little bit of uneven sanding, and that does not bother me in the slightest. I'm just pointing it out because some people care about that stuff. And also just to show, handmade knives are never going to be perfect. They're literally created by human hands, not a robot. So sometimes in a handmade custom knife, you're going to have some little tiny minor imperfections that just give the knife character, in my opinion. As long as it's not ugly and it doesn't affect anything, it's simply cosmetic, it doesn't bother me at all. Grind is insane on this, very, very even. Comes with a sharpening choil, which makes sharpening super easy. The hollow grind was done really well on this. Everything about the blade alone is flawless. Nice sharpened spine. No hot spots in hand whatsoever. There is nothing about this knife that I would change. Not a single thing. Nothing. This is a perfectly executed EDC knife. And if you're looking for something that's high performance and literally geared toward EDC, the 3-inch blade Steadfast, I can 100% recommend it. I carried this for a whole month, guys. Nothing else other than this for a whole month. Use it every day. My only blade. It is absolutely incredible. And I think the most impressive thing about this is the steel and the heat treat and the hardness, obviously the geometry. That's 100% one of the best selling points of Steve's knives, is the time that goes into bringing all of these up. No matter what the steel is, he's bringing them to a high hardness and thin geometry. So these are super slicers, they're laser beams, and they're also incredibly easy to sharpen no matter what steel they are. Super easy to deburr. But this knife was a pleasure to use. Like I said, there is nothing I would change about this. Not a single actual thing. Definitely one of my most recommended EDC knives if you're looking for a high performance knife. Is this meant for batoning? Absolutely not. Is this meant for game processing? Absolutely not. But as an EDC knife, you're gonna have a hard time beating this, to be honest. Steve is at the top of the game right now. He is kind of dominating the realm of performance knives, EDC knives, custom knives. I respect Steve very, very much, and his work is absolutely insane. It's one of those situations where he has a lot to say about a lot of things, but if you're gonna talk a big talk, you better walk a big walk, and that's what Steve does. Like, he can say whatever he wants because this is what he's doing. Like, you can say whatever you want, man. You're at the top of the game. So, I would highly recommend checking out Steve's work if you are looking for a high performance knife. They typically fall under $300 and you're getting insanity in terms of performance. Very well educated, very well respected in the community, and I am absolutely honored to have not one but two of his knives that I get to use and experience and be part of that journey. It's an absolute honor to know somebody personally that is that respected in this world. Guys, that concludes my review of the Steadfast EDC in 4V from Steve Callari at Callari Custom Knives. I really hope that you enjoyed that, and I hope that you found it informative. Please go check out his work. I will link him down in the description below. Tell him I sent you. These are also great makers as well. Very good makers. We're not going to talk about this. This was literally just to bring Magna Cut into the discussion. We're not going to include that in the good makers. But John from BGM Knives, great stuff. And also, please check out Josh Francis. He's doing fixed blade rehandles, and this has been a huge game changer for me. I'm actually sending him 2 more knives tomorrow to put different handles on because they just need something different, and this has made me start falling in love with knives that I wasn't a big fan of. So check out Josh Francis, Knife Guy Mods. Also check out Kyle from the Scrawny Lumberjack. He's doing some nutty stuff too. Check out the Vulture. This is a design that I did with him. Great EDC knife. But guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. Thanks so much for watching. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. I will see you guys in the next video. I love you so much, fam. Take care.